Hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy CowboyJobu, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. And we're here for another Monday night. And I got to tell you, I just love Monday nights because one, Jobu will need a refill, and I have all of you people here talking about football. We'll go ahead and kill that right now. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you're doing great. If the NFL is heating up right now, we got all kinds of stuff happening with the franchise tag that's there, and I do believe that Tony Romo will be actually cut very, very soon. The interesting thing is we have Josh McCown apparently has been talking with the Cowboys. You might remember when Tony Romo went down, there was rumors that we might be trading for him because we were looking for a backup quarterback / maybe even a starting quarterback. So that's where all of a sudden thought about maybe we might be going to that guy. But that trade didn't happen, and unfortunately he was stuck in Cleveland where quarterback careers seem to go to die. So now that the season is over, we are looking at possibly bringing him in. However, the interesting thing is the Cowboys won't start talking to him until they are finished dealing with Tony Romo. So here's the thing. A lot of people are like, he's old. Why would you want that guy? Okay, I got to tell you, we got Butt Fumble, and we have Kellen Moore. Excuse me. I mispronounce that all the time. Forgive me. I've never said that I am perfect at pronouncing names or remembering names and stuff, but I do the best I can. You know who I'm talking about. Guys out there who are any good will be getting starters money. The guys who are backups are backups. They're not going to get paid a lot of money. So there's not a lot of options that are out there because really there's about 10 to 15 really good quarterbacks that you can say, that guy can take me to a Super Bowl. And if you're one of those guys, you're going to be starting someplace. We're not looking for a starter. We don't have money to pay a starter to be on the bench, even though Dak is only making about $600,000 a year. We have needs all over the field. So with that being said, he's a good quarterback. He's solid. He's got experience. He's not going to make waves, and you can afford him. So in response to you guys that say, oh, no, not that guy, who are you going to say besides Tony Romo? Because we know some of you guys are going to say Tony Romo. We can't afford Tony Romo. And I can give you 24 million reasons why we can't afford Tony Romo. And that's why I look for this to be resolved before the March 9th beginning of the NFL new year when free agents are allowed to sign with people. Just like we did with DeMarcus Ware before the Combine, I think that this week we'll be dealing with Tony Romo. They'll have the discussion and so on, and they're just going to release him. Now, again, I don't have any inside information. That's just my gut feeling. Now, let me give a shout out to everybody who's already joined in tonight. I hope everybody's doing good. Hope your week has started off well. Mine's been a rather long day. I apologize for not having that video up this morning, but I left to go to work at 5 a.m. and I didn't get off till 6. Robert, amen. How you doing? Jesus, how you doing, man? First comment. Well, you were close. Daniel, what's up, man? Kenny, John Kenny, how you doing? Dak the GOAT, man, you are true blue. You are always in here. Blake, I got your shirt out there today. It's in the mail. Star Aguirre, how you doing? Wow. Sarah, you've got to be the most loyal woman in the world because you are always here faithfully. Thank you for joining in. Nick C, Tyrone, that's my dad's name. Little Sonic, Angel, daggone. There's too many of y'all to keep up with. Orion, Cuddle Moore, John Kenny, Jeffrey Dyson, Schwartz, Kenneth, Nick C, Brandon, Provost, daggone. Robert, amen. Good Lord. Guys, there's too many of you guys. But I'll hit some more of you guys and some of your questions in a bit. A thing I find interesting here, you know, I'm here in the Washington, D.C. area, so of course I get all the Redskin news, but it still amazes me to high heaven that the Redskins are still sitting on the fence about Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying that he's the greatest quarterback that's out there, but options-wise, you don't have a whole lot of options out there as far as a franchise quarterback. I mean, when you think about what they gave up to get RG3, all those picks, and you lost. Now you got Kirk Cousins, who's actually playing really well, Pro Bowl level, needs some work, but you're talking about trading that guy, getting rid of him, and maybe bringing in Tony Romo? Are you guys serious? Tony Romo is 2 years at most, maybe 2 games. I'm just mystified on that one. I mean, I see Denver. Okay, Denver, what do you got to lose? You know, you got Paxton Lynch there. You got other guys there. Tony Romo comes in. If he plays half the season and gets you a great record, then it was a good investment because you have some younger guys that might be able to learn from him and who can take the slack up. If you're Washington, you get Tony Romo, and let's say he only plays 4 or 5 games. Let's go. What else do you have? Colt McCoy? Seriously. You're talking about setting your franchise back again. But then again, it's the Washington Redskins, so why do we care? The Texans, of course, that's the one that everybody thinks makes the most sense, and probably does because it's just down the interstate, a couple hours. His family could stay where they are, not have to uproot. He could be right there close to the Cowboys and making the Cowboy fans regret giving him up. They have a great offensive line. They have the #1 ranked defense, but I'm going to put an asterisk by that. Because when you look at their division and the schedule they played, they didn't exactly play a lot of top-notch teams. Therefore, their numbers are kind of skewed a little bit higher. So, yes, they were the #1 ranked defense, but I won't say that they were the best defense in the NFL. But they are really good. And with them being in a weak division, that bodes well for playoff seeding. So that's the team that makes the most sense. You're hearing rumors that Kansas City might be ready to go ahead and make a move and try something different. Who knows? All I know is I am tired of listening to all the Tony Romo fans that keep telling me that Tony Romo is the greatest quarterback since Joe Montana. Guys, give it up. Just give it up, please. Now let me get to some of your questions in here. McCown, Kenneth, I agree. McCown he's an upgrade over Buck Fumble. Without a doubt, he won't cost a whole lot. He won't cause a whole lot of problems. And it's a guy that, hey, maybe Dak can learn a few things from. Yeah, I'm trying to go old school. I am still high on Calais Campbell. I want our defense to be a doomsday defense. And see, what a lot of people miss when they think about the 90s dynasty, they were great on offense. The playmaker, Emmitt Smith, was running wild, you know? You had Troy Aikman was able to hit Alvin Harper on the slant. He was able to hit, Michael Irvin. But what's lost in that is that the Dallas Cowboys had the #1 ranked defense in there. Charles Haley was the missing piece that brought that defense together. Charles was crazy. I can verify that from college. But I got to tell you, when you went into the huddle with Charles Haley, you were thankful that he's on your side, that you didn't have to block his ass, because he was going to knock you the F out. And FYI, check out Charles Haley's Facebook page. You'll notice somebody is his profile picture. Now, there's an interesting story I'm going to tell you guys, because a lot of you don't really know everything that goes on and all that. Charles, of course, was a finalist for the Hall of Fame 6 years in a row, didn't get in. I actually did a blog because I used to write blogs, which I used to enjoy, but the problem is writing it all out, doing all of the editing and so on, putting it out there. It just took a lot of time and effort. it's so much easier for me to just go ahead and talk to you guys because I don't have to worry about editing it. If I mess it up, well, I just mess it up. It's on tape, and you guys can laugh at it, as opposed to reading something and it just doesn't make sense. But I did a blog post about Charles Haley because I used the draft. You know how we always hear that you got can't miss players? Kind of like they said about Jared Goff. He's the most pro-ready quarterback. He's a guy you could plug in right now, and you don't have to worry about him. Isn't that what Mike Mayoff said about him last year? My mind slips from time to time, and I'm getting old and forgetful. And now I cannot remember the guy's name, but he was an offensive lineman. God, why can't he worked out on Muscle Beach. Big guy. He was going to revolutionize offensive lineman. #1 pick on the cover of Sports Illustrated before he got there. He was a bust. Then you had a guy like Charles Haley, went to Division I AA school, James Madison University, who never had a winning season when he was there. And he becomes the first player with 5 Super Bowl rings. And dare I say, he was the glue that made that team together. But because of some of the off-field issues, he kept getting passed up. So I did this blog post about it, and like I said, I played with him in college. He'll say that I was on the team, which is more true than anything else. But he read that post, and from that point on, he changed his profile picture to Jobu. And it was that very season that his induction finally went in. And there's one other tie that's kind of interesting, because we were actually walking past the hall when we were actually walking past the hall at 8 o'clock when they were actually calling out the Hall of Fame entries, and that was the year he got in. Can't say that Jobu had anything to do with it, but if you check out Charles Haley's Facebook page, you'll see a picture of Cowboy Jobu. Just thought I'd throw that in there. So that's why I'm wearing this Doomsday Defense, because I want us to go back to our roots. I love the fact that we are a running team, a ball control team. Now we just need the defense to go with it. And now is the time to start thinking about that, because right now, the combine, the potential draft picks start arriving tomorrow, and the rest of this week is all combine. And I'm hoping that the Dallas Cowboys have the mindset that we need to focus on that defense. And the first thing they need to do is get that war daddy. Now you can hear my son over here, who's got his headphones on, who's laughing at something over there. So if you hear some laughter in the background, it's my son playing some video games. He's up actually helping me at work and stuff with this job. So let me get to some more of your questions. See, we got quite a few people in here tonight. Thank you all for joining into the Jobu Sports Report. Jobu is actually not giving you guys the fingers. That's for some of the trolls that are out there that keep around me every day here and stuff, although it doesn't seem like we have too many tonight. I won't say F Romo. Actually, I won't say F Sanchez either. Sanchez hasn't done anything bad to us. Fortunately, he hasn't been out on the field much. Well, here's the thing, Magic Toaster. We got 21 free agents. Some we want to keep, some we want to go, and we want to replace. We got 7 picks. 2 of them are 7th-round draft picks. So it's going to be very vital to fill as many of those holes as we can with guys that potentially will actually play. We're hoping that our backup quarterback doesn't need any help. But if you can sign a guy like a Josh McCown for a veteran minimum contract, that's one less thing we have to worry about, where we can look for the best players available in the draft to hopefully fill some of these holes. We may need a running back. We're going to need a wide receiver. We're going to need probably an offensive guard or tackle. We're going to need defensive line help. We're going to need an edge rusher. We're going to need cornerbacks. You know, the list goes on and on and on. So we're going to have to fill some of those places with free agents. And getting a backup quarterback could be a good one. Well, I'm just got all kinds of calls here tonight. Romo retire. You know, Daniel, I honestly would like to see Tony Romo retire for the simple fact that as much as everybody says you're healthy, oh, Tony Romo's healthy. Maybe you guys have never had a bad back before, or have had, you know, a messed up knee. Yeah, you can get healthy, but it's not like it was before. I've had 5 knee operations. I've had slipped discs. I've had fingernails ripped off down to the cuticle playing football. But the thing I got to impress upon you is, once you injure something, it's never the same as it was before the injury. I have no ACL in my left knee. That knee pops out of socket left and right. I did it in high school. Played college football on it. Tried to become a decathlete. But it was never the same as before I hurt. Now, granted, I'm old and medicine has gotten better, but it's still not the same. The other thing is, as you get older, those aches and pains get worse. They don't get better. Part of the reason why Tony Romo would take a day off a week is because his body couldn't take it. They wanted to give him extra rest and not work him out any more than they had to. When you talk about breaking that collarbone and they shaved some of it off, and we're talking about putting a steel plate in it, it wasn't because it was fine and healthy. It was because they were concerned about it breaking again. And when you're 36 going on 37, you don't want to keep taking those hits over and over again. Look at a guy like Brad Johnson, and I invite you to Google him. Brad Johnson is younger than I am. Had his neck vertebrae fused, got a Super Bowl ring. But the guy has to get help to get out of the bed. Seriously. He's 47 years old and needs help getting out of the bed. It wasn't that long ago that he was still playing, 10 years ago. So when you start looking at these hits that Tony Romo keeps taking, there is life after football, or at least there should be. And the question is, do you want to be it with a cane, in a wheelchair, can't walk, can't get out of bed, and constantly in pain? When you hear about my childhood hero, Tony Dorsett, right now having CTE signs, having good days and bad days, you got to wonder, how much more can he take? And that's where you start thinking that, Tony, you got more money than you can ever spend. You got a wonderful wife. You got great kids. You can retire and do anything you want with the Dallas Cowboys. What else is there for you to accomplish? I know you don't have that ring, but maybe you go in the front office. They win a ring, you get the ring. But you got to start thinking more than right now. And in some sense, you got to be selfish about yourself and your future. What's up, Victor Baker? Tino, SK96756. Damn, can you guys get some of these names a little easier? Jeez. Pick up a non-drafted free agent running back as well. That would be another. Yeah, that's another way we get. I still think Lance Dunbar would not be a bad thing to sign. He's basically kind of like Joe Washington was with the Redskins years ago. He's catching passes, and he's a changeup type of a back. Them Dallas boys, what's up, man? Well, thank you, Sarah, for all the love. You know I love you right on back, girl. Wow, there's a lot of, geez, I'm way behind. Yeah, and that's the end of, yeah, you're right, Brandon. Denver definitely wants Tony Romo. And the thing about Denver is they're frugal. They'll play players, you know, like they did with Von Miller and stuff like that, but they're not going to give away the farm for a quarterback. You know, you get teams that are desperate for ones like the Redskins that's been all those draft picks, the Eagles, the Rams. More times than not, it doesn't necessarily work out. Denver's going to get a veteran quarterback, but they're not trading shit to get him. And they did that with Peyton Manning, got him to 2 Super Bowls and won one. And, you know, they're betting that, hey, maybe Tony Romo can do the same thing. And that's maybe not a bad bet at all. Blake, the Texans have a better offensive line than Denver does. Can't afford. I'm sorry, Schwartz. Who are we talking about that we can't afford? We can. I'm not a big fan of restructuring. However, my thing. Here's the thing that I feel. You're close, and what's going to happen is you can only stay close for so long. You know, Dez is going to get older. You're not going to have the same team. Running backs, you know, we'd like to think that they're going to be like Emmitt Smith and that they're running for years, but their shelf life is actually not that long. So you don't know how long Zeke is going to be that top tier running back. You know, we've seen guys like Chris Johnson, who all of a sudden you thought was the greatest thing ever, all of a sudden drop off a cliff. So that's not guaranteed. So when you look at your team right now, when you look at having that offensive line pretty much together, you need maybe one more piece. You got the running back, you got the quarterback, you got a receiver. You don't need a whole lot there. And to know that your team was close, a bad call away from, or a bad defensive play from going to the championship game, that's when you say, you know what? We're going to get rid of Tony Romo's deal. We make him that June 1st cut. We get rid of, create $14 million of cap space this year. We create, you know, only have a $9 million hit next year for our quarterback, basically, which is cheap. You can splurge on that guy because you're going to have relief down the road. The great thing about Dak Prescott, and I don't think you guys understand this, is keeping Tony Romo for the next 2 years costs you $54 million. You get rid of him now, it costs you 19. That money that we're talking about that you save, you can sign Calais Campbell for. Seriously. And still have some change left over. So when you look at this, you got to take the approach of, what can I get with that money from Tony Romo? What can I have long term? Because Tony Romo is short-sighted. The best you can expect is a short go-round. But you're going to have more room because the cap is going to go up. You're going to have more room because you're not paying that salary to Tony Romo. So you can restructure knowing that you're going to have more money down the road. And the best way for the NFL to get a whole lot more money is for the Dallas Cowboys to be relevant. The Dallas Cowboys would have gone to the Super Bowl. I can guarantee you that the NFL would probably make 40% more at that Super Bowl. So you can best believe that they're actually hoping the Cowboys will be good because it's more money for everybody else. In the same way, a lot of people hated Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was the best thing for golf. Tiger Woods brought golf to people who never considered golf before. All of a sudden, the purses for golf went through the roof. You may not have liked him, but he made you a whole lot of money. And that's what it is with the Dallas Cowboys. When you look at the top 10 games this year, almost all of them were Dallas Cowboy games. So that's where you got to start looking for the NFL to want things to happen. I've got to also set up here for the Vinay show. The other interesting thing that's going on, of course, is the Combine, where we're going to hear about all these workup warriors that were third-round picks that now all of a sudden are the just can't miss guys that you got to draft, that will end up being guys you wish you didn't draft. You're going to hear Mike Mayock and all those guys talking about this guy, that guy, and the other thing. The funny thing is most of the time, they're not anywhere close to right. I remember what they said about Russell Wilson. They said that he was, if you need a backup quarterback for a couple of games, he might be worth the risk. Yeah, they were spot on about that one, weren't they? In the same way, they said that Dak Prescott, he's a project. He needs some time to sit on the bench. And Jared Goff, oh, he's quarterback ready. He's NFL ready. Yeah. So take what happens at the Combine with a grain of salt. It's a tool that you can see some of the ability. You can find out if a guy was injured, if he's really healed. You can end up seeing how fast are they really. But a lot of the things that they do at the combine, you're never going to see on the field. Very rarely are you going to see a guy having to do a 40 or a shuttle run and other things like that. Excuse me for the dogs barking. Somebody probably just came home. My son's dogs are here along with our dog. So don't get too excited about guys at the combine. I always say it's better to look at their body of work from college, because the bottom line is, yeah, there's a lot of guys that can run a fast 40, but it doesn't mean that they can hit. Emmitt Smith, when you looked at him, actually wasn't that fast as, you know, working out the combine, but we see what he was when he came to the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys face, welcome in. Romo will play for the Broncos. Your prediction? That's not a bad prediction. I have to agree with you, Magic Toaster, that some of these trolls are really delusional. Victor Butler, do I think we should pick up Ware? No. Ware is pretty much done. Ware was already having a lot of wear and tear when he left us here. And the interesting thing that most people haven't noticed with his statistics, when we couldn't seem to win in December, you know, and Tony Romo was getting all the blame, if you look at DeMarcus Ware's stats, you'll notice one thing. His first half of the season, majority of his stats come through. By the time he would get to December, late in the season, he'd get very few of them. He had a great run in Denver, played well in that Super Bowl and all that. But at this point, he's really just a shell of himself. A lot of people have talked about Mario Williams. It's the same type of a deal. He's worn out. About DeMarcus Ware of 5-6 years ago, not the player that he's become, because NFL players can literally get old overnight. Yanis, here's the deal. This is my channel. It's the Jobu Sports Report, my buddy. And I had people say the exact same thing when I was hyping up Dak Prescott. And I said, he's going to be the real deal. And if you don't like what I'm saying, it's fine. You don't have to watch it. But I'm going to be on the players that I think are going to be good. Because here's the great thing about football. You can have the experts out there tell you everything in the world, and guess what? They're no more right than I am. In fact, a lot of times they're wrong more than I am. So that's my opinion, and I'm going to give you my opinion. Right, wrong, or indifferent. My opinion is coming off of my channel. So that's how I feel about that. I've made a couple predictions over the years that ended up being right. I said, after we let DeMarco Murray go, that I said Jay Ajayi would be the perfect running back for our offense. I said, that's the guy we need to plug in right now. What ends up happening? We didn't draft him. We could have gotten him in the 3rd or 4th round. And you look at what he did in Miami this past season. Imagine what he would have done in 2014 behind our offensive line. If he's getting 200 yards, not 1, not 2, but 3 games with the Miami Dolphins, what do you think he could have been doing here in Dallas? But I heard people say, why are you hyping this guy? Yeah. Same thing with Dak Prescott last year. I kept going, screaming at the high heaven, he's the perfect quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. The reason why this channel finally blew up is because of a video I did this time last year where I said he would be the perfect quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. And people told me I was nuts. I don't know what I'm talking about. He's a project quarterback. He's Tim Tebow. And what did I say? That's my opinion. That's the guy I think we should go for. I think he fits our system. I see some of the same traits that Tony Romo has of being able to stretch the play out, move around in the pocket, and keep his eyes downfield, as well as being able to roll out. And people said I'm an idiot. So, again, it's my show, and it's my opinion. If you don't like the way I hype up a guy, go elsewhere. Some people also talked about us getting, franchise tags. We've got Carnell Jones, and since you don't want me to hype Calais Campbell, I'm going to hype him just because I want to. Carnell Jones ended up getting franchise tags with the Cardinals, and if the Cardinals were to sign Calais Campbell as well, they basically have $5 million left over to spend on everybody else. So that's why I think Calais Campbell is definitely going to be a free agent, and there's going to be some people that want him. Rumors are the Redskins, of course, want him as well. And again, as I say, he's going to be a guy that will be able to help our team for one reason. He opens up the draft. We don't have to necessarily draft out of need of saying we just have to get an edge rusher. If an edge rusher is there, you take him. But if he's not and you're reaching, it's okay. Because what you can do is you can take the best player available. And it might be a cornerback or safety that you say, oh my God, I can't believe that guy fell there. It gives you options and flexibility. Now, whether you think I'm right or wrong or whatever, this guy consistently gets 7, 8 sacks a season, 50, 60, 70 tackles. He forces fumbles. He gets double teams. Can you say we have anybody on our team that does that? If he was on our team, he'd be second in interceptions, first in 4 sacks, and 7th in tackles. One guy, about $10 million a year, about the same number we will be paying Tyrone Crawford this year. Now, if you want to say JPP, although he's getting tagged, oh, he's off the market. That is the best guy that's going to help the rest of your team. It's going to make a guy like David Irvin the second guy you focus on. It's going to free him up. It means if DeMarcus Lawrence is healthy and can get out on the edge, he's going to get single coverage, and he will have an easier track to the quarterback. It means that he's taking a double team, which is keeping your linebackers clean so they can make plays. It means that quarterbacks are going to have less time in the pocket and are not going to be able to see as much because he's 6'8" and like an eclipse with these big arms that'll stretch out in front of you. That's what I see. Maybe you don't see it, but this is my opinion on it. Holmes for pass rusher. Okay. Cowboy face. Oh, okay, Nick, I will sub right now. Okay. Well, any of you that have just subbed, I appreciate it. We're actually over 6,800, headed to 7,000. We've actually been fantastic this month, and I want to thank each and every one of you guys for being there. Well, okay, here's the thing. Don't dare Calais Campbell, Charles Haley. You know, it's kind of funny. I guess, Yanis, you're just trolling me tonight. Here's the thing. I did a video yesterday when I talked about the situation of Craig Morton and Roger Staubach. I said you had the veteran quarterback who took the team to a Super Bowl and lost, but then you had a young, late-round drafted quarterback, Roger Staubach. And it was the fans who loved Craig Morton because he took you to a Super Bowl. He's been there. He's the veteran. Then you got this young guy who's unconventional. They ended up trading away Craig Morton. He went to Denver. Roger Staubach became the starter, won Super Bowls. And I said, you can kind of equate that situation. It's like deja vu with where we are now, because Tony Romo, although he never took us to a Super Bowl, he's taken us to divisional rounds. He's been the quarterback for 10 years. He's beloved by so many fans. And Lord knows there's some of you guys out there that are literally just ready to die for Tony Romo. And you have this young, late-round drafted quarterback that could be the future. So I said there's parallels there. Now, all of a sudden, people are twisting it and saying, you said Dak Prescott is Roger Staubach. Well, it's possible he could be. He could possibly lead us to several Super Bowls and win some. But we need more time before we can make that thing. But when you compare the situations, it's comparable. Now, again, the Dallas Cowboys are in the exact situation that they were in the 91 season. They lost in the first round of the playoffs. They had a young quarterback in Troy Aikman. They had a stud running back in Emmitt Smith. They had a playmaker, wide receiver, who was vocal. And when you look at that, that's exactly the Dallas Cowboys right now. We have some nice pieces of defense with Sean Lee. We've got possibly Jalen Smith coming around and looking really good. You got young guys like David Irving and DeMarcus Lawrence and Byron Jones and Anthony Brown. You've got some pieces there, but you need something to help pull it together. So you can look at a parallel of maybe Calais Campbell is the guy, maybe he isn't. But when I look at that team in 91, the difference was they brought Charles Haley into the fold. And Charles Haley brought that all together. So when I say that I think Calais Campbell can have the same effect, yeah. But Charles Haley was an outside edge rusher. Calais Campbell can be an outside edge rusher. He can play tackle. He can play nose. He plays all the way throughout the line. But the thing about Calais Campbell is he's consistent. He doesn't miss games. He's going to make sacks. He's going to make big plays. And that's where I say he could be the difference maker on the team that makes everybody else around him better. So Giannis, don't like what I say again, because the last comment I said, you're just here to start some crap. Or maybe you just need some love. I don't know. But that's what I see. And again, you don't like it? Go elsewhere. Sheldon is a good player, but he's the kind of guy that I'm concerned with, Jason, with some of the off-field issues that he's had. I like the locker room the way it is. I like the fact that the offensive line goes out together and eats and stuff, that they truly stick together. I like the fact that Dak and Zeke are like, best friends and things. They're pranking each other. They hang out together and things like that. I like the chemistry that's being built up in the team. And Sheldon, I'm not going to say he's as bad as Greg Hardy, but I'm not sure he's the right fit for this team. I know that Calais Campbell is a leader on this team. I know that he gives everything on the field, and he's the type of guy that when Jason Garrett talks about the right kind of player, that's the kind of guy he is. And his numbers are far and away better than Sheldon. Yeah, you're right, Blake. The Texans were number one in yards, but not points. You're right. You're right on that one. Thought put Jobu in his pass rusher. Yeah, well, he might be able to get upfield, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to tackle anybody. Nick, I have been calling Jerry out trying to get to him and everything else to get Calais Campbell, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Is Jobu left-handed? No, he's not. He's actually both-handed. Joe Gibbs. Wow, the interesting thing. It's funny you say Joe Gibbs, because with the Dallas Cowboys 25th anniversary of that first Super Bowl for Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, you kind of notice all the love that's been around with those two guys. And I was talking about, Jerry Jones is getting up there. Jerry Jones craves attention. Jerry Jones likes the limelight. He likes the big story, and he likes to stir stuff up. Could you imagine what bigger story there would be if Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones got back together? Think about that. Let's say next season is a disappointment and we have some of the same coaching fails that we've had in the past few years that have prevented us from winning. Tony Mandrich, thank you, Eric. Thank you. I'm getting old. Yes, it was Tony Mandrich that I was talking about in that article, because Tony Mandrich, he was huge. He was like one of the first 300-pound guys that you saw in the NFL there, and he was just immense. Believe it or not, when I grew up and played football, most of your football players, the first one was Dave Butts, that was over 300 pounds. Seriously. And he literally just outsized everybody else. But Tony Mandrich came along, and it was just like, oh my God, this guy's so big, he's going to maul people. Got to the NFL and just could not do crap. Thank you for that. Brian Bosworth, oh my God, the boss. You talk about a serious bust. Ryan Leaf is another one. So when you start looking at some of these guys where they keep saying, it was Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning, they're about the same. You can't lose getting either of them. No, you could. And they lost. The Chargers lost bad, or as our president would say, bigly. Victor, you hit the nail on the head. If Tony Romo can't stay healthy with the best line in the NFL, why do people think he's going to stay healthy with another team? Like I said, once you hurt something, it's very easy to hurt it again. I've had 3 slip discs in my back, and I got to tell you, they slip out with no rhyme or reason. I can be doing all kinds of, really heavy duty stuff, no problem. And I can turn around and just reach for a pen, and all of a sudden, there it goes. And that's what happens when you get injured and you get older. It's just harder to stay upright. Yes, Joshua. Mark. What's the question? Nice ringtone? Okay. Bosworth. Yeah, Bosworth was terrible. No, actually, that was my wife calling, and my brother was actually calling. So she's on her way home from work, working late. Cowboy Face, you're right. A lot of people don't want to listen to numbers or facts or anything like that. Here's the thing. For whatever reason, our Dallas Cowboys have just had a hellacious time when it comes to playing Green Bay. And that goes back all the way to the 60s with the Ice Bowl. Had we ended up holding them on the goal line, it might not be the Vince Lombardi trophy. It might be the Tom Landry trophy. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get it done. So we had a 26-3 game where we were up at halftime.
Exactly.
And we lost that game. We have had time after time after time where we just can't seem to beat Green Bay. Regular season, playoffs, it just doesn't seem to matter. For the first time in a very long time, we actually beat them in Green Bay with Dak in the regular season, which I believe was the first time in, I think, 5 seasons, 3 tries maybe. So it's not like we've had great success and Dak failed the playoffs on us. We just have never had success against them. But Dak threw for over 300 yards, 302, 3 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception, just like Aaron Rodgers did. That game statistically was better than any playoff game that Tony Romo ever had. Tony Romo's never had more than 2 touchdown passes in any game. Flat out. His last game against Green Bay, he was 15 of 19 for 197 yards, and I believe 2 touchdowns. Hello. Yeah, my son's dogs are down here. So when all of you guys say that Tony Romo would have done so much better, he's a far superior quarterback. Well, maybe he was in the regular season sometimes. But when you look at interceptions, and see, to me, interceptions are deadly. They are game changers, momentum changers. Because you can have a pick 6, all of a sudden, that's literally like a 14-point swing. You can have an interception at the wrong time when you're driving down the field and possibly taking a score, and all of a sudden the team lifts up. Case in point, this year when we're playing against the Redskins in Washington, the Redskins were up. They're driving down the field, and Kirk Cousins throws a pick in the end zone. All of a sudden, it's kind of like the whole crowd just kind of goes, oh. And the Dallas Cowboys come to life. So when you say that interceptions don't matter, they do. And momentum changes. They are point swingers. So for all of you that say, oh, Tony Romo, he throws it down the field. Yeah. Throwing it down the field, you can put yourself in 3rd and long or 2nd and long because it's an incomplete pass. You can end up having an interception, which, of course, you lose the ball. So to me, a lot of you say that Dak can't go downfield. Well, he's a rookie, and he's going to be better as time goes on. But the way our offense was designed is a ball control offense. It was designed because our defense has shortcomings. We need to control the clock so that way when the defense gets out there, they're fresh and ready to go. They are not a drag out long time on the field defense. Therefore, you want to control the clock. Why? It makes it easier. You want to take your time and score. You run Zeke Elliott. That clock keeps rolling. You hit Cole Beasley on a slant. It might only be a 5 or 6 yard slant, but he takes it for 13, 14 yards. Moves the chains. By doing that, now it starts opening up the deep ball. And keep in mind that Dak Prescott didn't work with Dez Bryant much during the training camp. And Dez Bryant was hurt the first part of the season. But what you'll notice is as the season progressed, those last 4 or 5 games, all of a sudden, they started getting together where Dez is looking like Dez, and he's hitting him on the deep ball. So give it time, because right now, as we speak, Dak is down in Orlando working out to get better. When normally we would have Tony Romo either out on the golf course or recovering from back or shoulder surgery. That's going to be the difference. Dak is hungry. Dak, everywhere he's gone, has gotten better every single year. And if that holds true, the sky's the limit. So all you guys that keep saying that he's just a dink and dunk quarterback, he's nothing, you just got something against the guy. Because if that was Carson Wentz, they would have already built a statue of him. Let's look at some more of your questions here, comments. We need a pass rusher. I agree, Kevin, without a doubt. I've been wanting a pass rusher forever. I agree with you, Magic Toaster. Greg Hardy was a cancer. He truly was. He divided the team. It was got the team focused on him and his issues and stuff. And basically he had the attitude like, I just don't care. I'm going to go do what I want to do. JPP would be basically about $75 million if he wasn't franchise tagged by the Giants. And that's what's going to happen. He's being franchise tagged. So throw JP out the window. Hey, Sean, how you doing, man? See, a lot of what you may, it's kind of crazy because what you want to do is, and the NFL is great for being a copycat league. Oh, shit. Wow, it is that late? I am supposed to be on air right now. I am late, guys. You got me talking, and I was supposed to be on the Benet Emery show. So let me get my ass on the Benet Emery show. Excuse me for a minute here.
The TV1 movie, I just pulled it up. But it reminds me of Empire and Power. That's it's kind of like, and when Benet was talking earlier, talking about movies being, stereotypes, I'm like, man, is that what a whole race of people have been reduced to? Is that we've got to feel these stereotypes of corruption, crooked backbiting, killing, because all that stuff is in here, and it's like the more they produce it, it's like the more these crazy people go out and watch it and want it.
But James, hold on, we got to take a quick break real quick. We're going to come back with more coaching and film, and because I want to get into more questions. But right now, it is time for our sports segment with the dopest, coolest, super fly, Mr. Know-It-All, Swami himself, Mark Holmes. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, man, what's going on tonight, man? The NFL is warming up, man. Everything is happening. We got the franchise tag. We have got the combine starting where the potential draft picks are reporting tomorrow. And, of course, we got Tony Romo.
What's going on with Romo? But first off, who are the Cowboys going to franchise?
Nobody, man. First, we don't have anybody that's anywhere near a franchise player, and we certainly don't have the cash to franchise tag anybody. So that's not even an issue.
Okay.
All right.
So what's looking good at the combine?
Well, the combine doesn't actually start until the rookies start reporting tomorrow. They start working out on Wednesday and stuff. So we'll get back to you next week on who's looking good. You're always going to get a bunch of these guys that are workout warriors that look fantastic, that before people have said, oh, he's a third-round pick, that all of a sudden now his stock's moved up and he's a first-round pick. But in the end, he's still really a third-round player. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, of course, with the combine. You always get some guys that they always say are can't-miss guys that miss. And then you have guys like Dak Prescott, who they say is a project, but ends up being the real deal. So it's going to be fun, of course.
Okay. So with the combine, not with that. Who we talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Potential holes. Where do you think that we need to be our first draft pick? You are Mark Holmes, general manager for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I saw you talking about this defensive end.
Calais Campbell. See, here's my thing, and I'm getting people that are sick of me talking about it. But you remember this time last year, what was I talking about last year? I kept talking about it almost a weekly basis.
Dak Prescott.
And what happened?
He came in and showed up and showed out.
Okay. Remember I was talking about Jay Ajayi a few years ago. And I said that was the guy they needed to get when we got rid of DeMarco Murray. And look at what he's doing. 200-yard games and stuff for Miami. But see, right. I think Calais Campbell will be the best defensive lineman that's left out there. JPP is just going to be franchise tagged with Giants, so he's not going to be on the street.
So he's coming from the Cardinals. And what makes you think this guy is so strong?
What makes me think, dog, 6'8", 300 pounds, and can move. I call him Eclipse. Because
you said 6'8", 300 pounds?
6'8", 300 pounds and can move. Okay? I call him Eclipse because that's what he's like when he puts his arms out like this.
Wow.
If he was on the Dallas Cowboys last year, he would have been second in interceptions, first in forced fumbles, and seventh in tackles. I'm sorry. And also number 1 in sacks.
And that's from a defensive end position.
Defensive end. Now, he is 30 years old. But he's never had, a bad year. He's made 6 games in his career. He's a 7-8 sack a season guy who demands double teams. And by getting a guy like that, it helps you in the draft because now you're not desperate to draft a defensive end. You're not reaching. You can take the best player available because we have 21 free agents, which means you either have to re-sign them or replace them. And with us only having 7 draft picks, you can't draft everybody for those holes.
Well, that being said, out of these 21 free agents, who are you going to hate to lose?
Who would I hate to lose?
Yes.
Ooh, I'd hate to lose J.J. Wilcox, but I think we're going to lose him. Safety.
Really?
Really, yes. He's going to command quite a bit of money on the open market. Yeah. He actually had a fantastic season. I know nobody wants to think about any players in the Dallas Cowboys doing that well, but he actually played really, really well. We'll probably be able to keep Church. I think Brandon Carr will probably be re-signed. Morris Claiborne, I think, is gone. I think we might end up losing Tyron Crawford. I think he might get cut. He's not a free agent, but when you look at his cap number being at $10 million and him constantly having shoulder problems, that they may end up moving him. I think Ron Leary will be gone. I think Mark Sanchez will be gone. I think Kelvin Moore will be gone. And the interesting thing is right now, Josh McCown, somebody who we looked at trading for last year when Tony Romo got hurt, has been talking to the Dallas Cowboys because he's going to be a free agent as well. So the Cowboys basically have said that they are not going to talk to him until they finish dealing with Tony Romo. So look for Tony Romo probably before March 9th to be cut, and I think it might happen this week.
Wow. Well, Mark, tell folks how to get in contact with you, homie.
Man, I tell you what, they've got to go ahead and get onto my YouTube channel, Mark Holmes, or they can look for CowboyJobu. Either one will come up keywords-wise. We're about to hit 7,000. We are growing like crazy and have to be the fastest growing Cowboy channel out there. And we have daily videos where we're talking about what's going on, updates and stuff. We got live streaming where you, the fan, can go ahead and call in. We've got Skype interviews and everything else. So definitely check that out. Monday nights here on the Benet Emery Show, of course. And, of course, CowboyJobu on Facebook.
Is that your phone, dog?
That's my phone, man. That's all these comments that are coming on the YouTube channel because we're actually live streaming the YouTube channel while we're doing the Benet Emery Show. So that way they get a backstage look at what happens on actually putting on a show.
Well, let's do, real quick, sports related. As you know, we have the very talented director, writer, and photographer, Cortez, in the building.
Yes.
And we were talking about, did you happen to see the movie Moonlight?
I have not seen it, but I saw that they messed up. They pulled a Steve Harvey last night.
That being said, what do you think about and James was bringing this up right before you got on. We've degenerated to the point to where all we can do to entertain ourselves is to promote misery. I like Empire. I think it's funny, but I think people think that is a way that we live. Now, that's actually a reflection of African American life. What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, we always get stereotyped because, when you see.
But do we do that to ourselves?
We do, because that's what we put out in social media. We put out the father that's beating the kids, or we've got the mother in curls out there yelling about her baby daddy and things like that. And unfortunately, these stereotypes is what people think are the average black person or color of race. And it's nothing can be further from the truth. It's not necessarily reality, and it's not necessarily the case of everybody that's there. What you have to realize is everybody's different. I don't care if you're black, white, yellow, whatever. You can't put people in a category. You got to understand that that person is an individual. I know great white people, and I know people that are white that are pieces of crap. In the same way, I know great black people that I know black people that are pieces of crap. Everybody is an individual, and you got to judge them as such. And unfortunately, without seeing great role models or seeing people in great light, you do see. And unfortunately, the stereotypes are what are out there.
Well, Mark, I greatly appreciate it, my man. We look forward to hearing from you next week with more Dallas Cowboy news. And next week, I want to focus on the who do you think are the super studs out there that can help the Cowboy offense and defense? Definitely.
We're going to be looking hard at the combine, and we'll definitely get some players that I think will be the ones to get.
All right, my man. We'll see you next week, bro.
So, guys, you just saw me doing the Benet Emery Show live right there. Okay, so the show's still going on. I went ahead and did my segment, and you guys were mentioned, and you guys were part of it. So thank you guys for being part of that. Let's get back to some of your questions. Well, thank you, Robert Whitfield. I'm glad you enjoy it. I wish I could do this full time. I got to tell you, I am a stats guy. I love watching film. I love talking about football. That for me, this is what I look forward to. Let's face it, Mondays are a shit day. Nobody wants to go through a great weekend and then go to work. But what I do know is once I get through that day of work, and it was an 11-hour day today, that I got you guys that I look forward to seeing. I've got the Benet Emery Show, and I got the Dallas Cowboys that I can talk to about. You know, when I have time, you know, I'm on a break, you know, I'm checking all of the wire to see what's going on. I'm checking NFL media, getting any updates and stuff. And when I have time, I post a video and things like that. For me, this keeps me excited, keeps me happy. I love having all the conversation. It's literally like I've got, you know, 96 of you sitting here in my living room, and we're talking about football. And I think it's fantastic. Being an old person and having to know that 25 miles down the road was considered long distance and you couldn't talk for very long, to be able to do this still amazes me. We've got people across the world, you know, all over the United States, that we are all able to instantaneously have contact and have a discussion. We are truly blessed with the time that we are in to be able to do the things that we do. And I'm just amazed. And again, I guess that's just the old guy in me that's talking right now, because most of you guys have grown up there. What's up, Sky High? Let's see some of these other people. Shallow Hal, funny guy. Okay. Sarah, oh, thank you, Sarah. DY's out of Arkansas. He could be. I've seen a little bit about him. I unfortunately have been so busy with the new job and things that I really have not had a chance to really start digging deep into the college prospects. I'm not a big college football fan, so I don't always get out there and get into it until about this time of the season and really start picking and looking at some of the film and watching the combine. So give me about a week or so, and I'll really start digging into it. I've just been really, really busy. Life has been getting in the way. And, you know, this is not a it is a full-time job, but it's not a full-time job that I can devote completely to right now. But who knows? Maybe one day. Schwartz, I'm definitely going to check that out. Check him out. He sounds fantastic. Charles Harris of Missouri, I'll check him out too. Well, you're going to have a lot of guys. You're going to have a lot of guys that are going to be moving up. You know, the draft stock's going to go up through the combine and stuff. But to me, I take the combine with a grain of salt. It's great to see a guy do well at the combine, but what you've really got to pay attention to is what did he do in college? What was the competition? What was the program that it was like? And does he have familiarity with what you're doing? I'll give you a great example. For me, I was a small nose guard. If you could tell me that I want you to get to that gap, 30, 40 pounds, you know, bigger than me, I could get to that gap. I could shoot the gap and get up the field and get the quarterback. And I remember in a JV game, I got 3 sacks in one game because they were shading me out over the guard, and literally I could do a jab step, which means you're stepping to the right, and then you're cutting back and you're ripping. So you're dipping your shoulder, giving the guy a small target, and shoot the gap between the guard and center, and literally could get in the hip pocket of the quarterback and sack him before he could make a move. And when I got off the field, I got cussed out by the coach. And I'm like, but I made the sack. Doesn't matter. What was your job? Well, I'm supposed to fight pressure and hold the lineman. That's right. But I made a sack and we made him punt. I don't give a crap because it was a read and react defense as opposed to a gap control defense. So when you look at a college prospect, you have to understand, is he in a read and react system where his job is grab a hold of the torso, figure out which way pressure is going and fight through pressure, or was it a place where you're assigned a spot? And there's a big difference between the two. So you have to understand, is that guy working in a system you have? Because you might be able to play in one, and you might not be able to play in the other. And that was my problem for me, is I was quick enough, fast enough, strong enough that I could get to a spot. But if you're telling me that I've got to hold a position against a guy that's 40 or 50 pounds heavier than me, I couldn't do it because I just didn't have the weight in the body for it. So the bottom line is, does the guy fit your system, and did he play well in college? That's the first thing you got to look at. But it is 10 o'clock, guys. And as always, the time always flies through when we're talking. It is always great talking, having a great time. You never can have a bad time talking about the Dallas Cowboys. This will be a big week. I think Tony Romo will be gone this week. We're got the combine that's going on. We're looking at all the players that are being franchised. So there'll be plenty of stuff up that we'll be talking about all week long. I want to thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. And if you enjoy it, please share it with a friend. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before the draft, so that way we can live stream from the draft. All the sights and sounds and what's going on in there in real time. Now, I've got to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to work, so I am going to say good night to all of you wonderful people, everybody, especially you, Sarah. Good night, and I will see you guys Friday night, 9 o'clock, live streaming right here. Thank you, and goodbye.